Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of the TSS Pathfinder, his eyes fixed on the large screen in front of him. His heart beat faster as he watched the strange ship that had appeared near Saturn's rings. It was huge, at least 5 times bigger than any ship humans had ever built. "What can you tell me about it?" Dae-ho asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Commander Jisoo Park looked up from her screen. As the ship's science officer, it was her job to make sense of strange things they found in space. But this time she seemed lost. "Captain, I've never seen anything like it," Jisoo said. "The ship seems to be made of some kind of living metal. Look at how it moves and changes shape." Dae-ho moved closer to the screen. She was right. The surface of the alien ship rippled like water, shifting and changing even as they watched. Humans had been in space for nearly 50 years now. They had built homes on Mars and mined asteroids for metals, but in all that time, they had never met anyone else out there. Until today. "Any signs of danger?" Dae-ho asked his weapons officer. "No, sir," replied Officer Sun-woo. "They've made no aggressive moves. Their weapons systems, if they have any, are not active." Lieutenant Han-sol Choi, who managed communications, suddenly sat up straight in her chair. Her hands moved quickly over her control panel. "Captain, they're sending us a message," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "And it's in Korean. Perfect Korean." Dae-ho felt a chill run down his back. How could aliens know a human language? "Put it on the screen," he ordered. The main screen flickered, and the image of the alien ship was replaced by something else. Something that made everyone on the bridge gasp. The being on the screen looked almost human, but not quite. It was tall and thin, with skin that glowed with a soft blue light. Its face was beautiful, with large eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. When it moved, it did so with a grace that no human could match. "Greetings, children of Earth," the being said, its voice deep and musical. "I am Elder Seok of the Aorin, the First Ones. We have traveled far to find you." Dae-ho stepped forward. As captain, it was his duty to speak for his crew. "I am Captain Dae-ho Kim of the Earthship, Pathfinder. Why have you come to our solar system?" The alien's lips curved into a smile that seemed both familiar and strange. "We have watched your kind for many years, Captain. We have seen you take your first steps into space. We have waited for this moment for a very long time." "You've been watching us?" Dae-ho asked, suddenly worried. "For how long?" "Since the beginning," Elder Seok replied. "Since we placed the first of your kind on Earth." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Dae-ho felt as if the floor had dropped away beneath his feet. "What do you mean by that?" he finally asked. "Your DNA carries our mark, Captain Kim," the alien said. "Humans are not just another species that grew on Earth. You are our children, created from our own genetic code, placed on Earth millions of years ago to grow and evolve." Jisoo moved to stand beside Dae-ho. "That's not possible," she said. "We have a clear evolutionary history. We evolved from—" "Yes," Elder Seok cut in gently. "You evolved from primitive mammals, but those mammals were already carrying our genetic signatures. We did not replace Earth's natural life, we simply guided it. In you." Dae-ho's mind raced. If what this alien said was true, it would change everything humans believed about themselves. "Why are you telling us this now?" he asked. Elder Seok's glow dimmed slightly. "Because the time has come for you to learn about your true place in the galaxy. And because we need your help." "Our help?" Dae-ho couldn't hide his surprise. "What could we possibly do to help beings as advanced as you?" "More than you can imagine," Elder Seok said. "Would you permit us to send a small ship to dock with yours? I would like to meet you in person, and there are things I must show you that cannot be explained through a screen." Dae-ho looked at his officers. Sun-woo, always careful, gave a small nod. Jisoo's eyes were wide with scientific curiosity. Han-sol simply looked excited. "I will need to contact Earth for permission," Dae-ho said. "Of course," Elder Seok replied. "But please understand that time is short. There are dangers approaching that you are not yet aware of." Dae-ho frowned. What dangers? All will be explained when we meet, Elder Siak said. But know this, we have not come to harm you. We have come to reunite with our long-lost children, and perhaps to save both our peoples. The screen went dark, and the image of the alien ship returned. Send a message to Earth Command, Deho ordered Hansol. Priority 1. They need to know about this immediately. As Hansol worked to establish a secure connection, Deho turned to Jisoo. What do you think? Could they be telling the truth? Jisoo shook her head slowly. I don't know, Captain. It sounds impossible, but their technology is clearly far beyond ours. And there have always been questions about certain aspects of human evolution, jumps that happened faster than they should have. If they created us, Sun Wu said quietly, why did they leave us alone for so long? Why watch from a distance while we fought wars and suffered? No one had an answer to that. 3 hours later, Deho sat in his office, reading the response from Earth Command for the 5th time. They had given him permission to allow a small party from the alien ship to board the Pathfinder. A team of scientists and diplomats was already on its way from Earth, but they wouldn't arrive for at least 2 weeks. Until then, it was up to Deho and his crew to represent humanity in this first contact. Captain, came Hansol's voice over the intercom. The Eorin shuttle is approaching our docking bay. Thank you, Lieutenant, Deho replied. Have Commander Park and Officer Sun Wu meet me there, and make sure the welcome team is in place. As Deho made his way to the docking bay, he couldn't help but wonder what would happen next. If the Eorin were telling the truth, then humans weren't who they thought they were. They were the children of the stars, descendants of the oldest race in the galaxy, and apparently their long-lost parents had returned. With bad news. The docking bay doors opened with a hiss. Deho stood straight, took a deep breath, and prepared to welcome the first aliens to ever set foot on a human ship. Let's hope they really are friendly, Sun Wu whispered beside him. Let's hope they really are who they say they are, Jisoo added. The alien shuttle connected with a soft thud. There was a moment of silence, and then the airlock began to cycle. Deho had the strange feeling that everything was about to change, not just for him and his crew, but for all of humanity. The inner door of the airlock slid open, revealing a tall, glowing figure. Welcome aboard the Pathfinder, Deho said, taking a step forward to greet the first visitor from another world. Elder Siak stepped onto the deck, his blue glow lighting up the room. Thank you, Captain Kim. It has been a long journey to find you again. The reunion of the galaxy's oldest race with their long-lost children had begun. 2 weeks had passed since the Eorin first contacted the Pathfinder. Now a team of Earth's best scientists and leaders had arrived to meet with the ancient aliens. Dr. Jae-in Lee, Earth's top expert on DNA and evolution, stood in awe inside the Eorin ship called the Ancestral Memory. The room around her seemed alive. The walls glowed with soft light, showing moving images of stars, planets, and countless living things. It was like a living history book of the galaxy. This is impossible, Jae-in whispered as she studied the genetic information displayed in front of her. The floating screen showed human DNA next to Eorin DNA. Certain parts were highlighted, showing patterns that matched exactly. Elder Siak stood beside her, his blue skin casting a gentle glow. These similarities could not have happened by chance. Dr. Lee, these markers were put there on purpose. Jae-in touched the display, zooming in on one section. But our fossil record shows a clear path of human evolution on Earth. We evolved from earlier primates, who evolved from earlier mammals. Yes, Elder Siak nodded. You did evolve naturally on Earth, but the path was guided. We added certain genetic patterns to your early ancestors, not to the first humans, but to the small mammals that would one day become humans. Captain Deho Kim had been quiet for some time, taking in all this information. Now he stepped forward with a question that had been bothering him. If we're your descendants, why did you abandon us? Why wait until now to return? Elder Siak's expression became sad. We never abandoned you, Captain. We have watched from afar, as all parent species must do. If we had helped too much or too early, you would not have grown strong on your own. You would have become dependent on us. So you just watched? Asked Colonel Min Ho-yoon, who had come as Earth's military representative. His voice was hard, with distrust. You watched our wars, our suffering, our struggles. Yes, Elder Seok admitted. It was difficult. Many times we wished to intervene, but we had learned from past mistakes with other worlds. Those we helped too much never reached their full potential. And what is our full potential? Taeho asked. Instead of answering directly, Elder Seok moved his hand through the air. The display changed to show a dark, spreading mass moving across a map of stars. It looked like spilled ink, covering one star system after another. This is why we have come now, the alien said. This is the Void Collective, a group mind that eats everything in its path. It has already destroyed 3 ancient civilizations in the Andromeda Galaxy. Now it turns its attention here, to our galaxy. The humans stared at the display in shock. The dark mass had consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing behind. How do we stop it? Colonel Minho asked, his military mind already thinking of defense. That is the problem, Elder Seok said. We Eorin are too few now. Our numbers have grown smaller over millions of years. We live very long lives, but we have fewer and fewer children. But humans. His eyes seemed to glow brighter as he looked at the Earth team. Humans have something we lost long ago. What's that? Asked Jae-in. Adaptability, creativity, the chaos factor. Elder Seok's voice held something like wonder. We put these traits into your genetics, but they were bred out of our own people over millions of years of stable existence. You are our greatest achievement, and potentially the galaxy's only hope. The Earth team was taken back to a large meeting room. There, they discussed what they had learned. I don't trust them, Colonel Minho said flatly. This could all be a trick to get us to give them our resources or become their soldiers. Ambassador Subin Kwan, who had been quiet until now, shook her head. To what end? Their technology is millions of years ahead of ours. If they wanted our resources, they could take them. If they wanted soldiers, they could make better ones than us. The DNA evidence is real, Dr. Jae-in added. I've checked it myself. There are patterns in our genetic code that could not have evolved naturally. They've been there all along. We just didn't know what to look for until now. Captain Dae-ho looked troubled. Even if they're telling the truth, what does this mean for humanity? Are we just their science project? Their weapons against this void thing? Before anyone could answer, the door opened, and Elder Seok entered with another Eorin. This one was smaller, with skin that glowed a softer green rather than blue. This is Elder Hyun, Seok introduced the newcomer. She is our historian and has studied Earth longer than any of us. Elder Hyun bowed slightly to the humans. I understand your doubts and fears, she said in a gentle voice. You wonder if you were made only as weapons or tools. The answer is no. You were made as our children. She waved her hand, and the air in the center of the room filled with images of Earth, ancient Earth before humans existed. 50 million years ago, our people reached a point where we no longer changed. Elder Hyun explained. We had become nearly perfect, long-lived, peaceful, wise. But we stopped evolving, we stopped creating new ideas, we stopped growing. The images changed to show Eorin scientists working with DNA. We decided to create child species on promising worlds, she continued. Not just Earth, but many planets. Each received a different design. Some were made for pure logic, others for perfect harmony with nature. Earth's design was our most ambitious. What was special about Earth's design? Jae-in asked. Unpredictability, Elder Hyun said with what seemed like pride. We gave you the ability to make great leaps of imagination, to think in ways that no computer, no logical mind could predict. It was a dangerous gift. It has led to both your greatest achievements and your greatest mistakes. Dae-ho thought about human history, the art, music, and poetry alongside the wars and cruelty. So we're an experiment in chaos? You are an experiment in growth, Elder Hyun corrected him, in finding new paths forward. And now, that ability may save us all from the Void Collective. The humans looked at each other, trying to process what this meant for their species, for their understanding of themselves. We will give you time to discuss this among yourselves, Elder Siak said. But please understand that time is short. The Void Collective is moving faster than we expected. It could reach this galaxy within a year. After the Eorin left, the Earth team sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, Captain Daeho spoke. Whether we believe them or not, the threat they showed us looks real. I think we need to prepare. Agreed, said Colonel Minho. But on our terms. If they want our help, they'll need to share their technology with us directly, not just use us as their soldiers. I want to see more of their genetic research, Dr. J.N. added. If there are hidden abilities in our DNA as they suggest, we should understand them ourselves. As the humans made their plans, they didn't know that across the galaxy, the dark mass of the Void Collective had already detected the Eorin ship. It had felt the presence of its ancient enemy, and it was changing course, moving faster toward the small blue planet that the Eorin valued so highly. The revelation of humanity's true origins was just the beginning. The real test was coming sooner than anyone expected. The news spread quickly across Earth. Humans were not born of Earth alone. They were the children of the Eorin, the oldest race in the galaxy. Some people welcomed this news with joy. Others did not trust it at all. In Seoul, inside the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, General Tae-Wan Kang was one of those who did not trust the aliens. He hit the table with his fist, making the water glasses jump. No, he shouted. We cannot just believe them and hand over our military power. I don't care if they say they made us. Humans have fought our own battles for thousands of years. Across the table, Ambassador Subin Kwan stayed calm. She had spent the most time with the Eorin and believed they were telling the truth. The Eorin have offered us technology that would make us hundreds of years more advanced, Subin said. And their warning about the Void Collective has been proven true by the probes they helped us send to the Andromeda Galaxy. Those probes could have shown us anything, Tae-Wan argued. How do we know what we saw was real? Captain Daeho Kim sat quietly, listening to both sides. Since meeting Elder Siak 3 months ago, he had become an important link between humans and the Eorin. He understood both the hope and the fear that people felt. Suddenly, a young officer ran into the room. His face was white with fear. General, Ambassador, we have multiple unknown objects at the edge of our solar system. Everyone rushed to the control room. On the large screen, they could see several dark shapes appearing through what looked like tears in space itself. The shapes were not smooth like ships. They seemed to shift and change, with no clear form. It's them, Daeho said quietly. The Void Collective has found us sooner than the Eorin thought they would. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, the alarms began to sound. We've lost contact with the mining bases on Jupiter's moons, an officer reported. All 3 at once. The few messages that came through showed only darkness moving over everything. People screamed as something they couldn't quite see covered them like black fog. A blue light filled the room as Elder Seok appeared. He wasn't really there, but his image was projected from the Eorin ship. It has begun, the alien said. His usual calm voice now sounded urgent. We must start the integration protocol now. Your people have abilities inside them that can be awakened. What abilities? General Tae-Wan demanded. Your minds can break the Void's group thinking. You can create noise that they cannot understand. But to use this power, your people must connect with our technology. The Earth leaders looked at each other. They faced a terrible choice. Should they stay independent and probably die? Or should they let the Eorin change them in ways they didn't understand? Dr. J.N. Lee, who had been studying Eorin science since first contact, spoke up. What if we take your technology and adapt it ourselves? Humans are very good at taking tools and using them in new ways. Elder Siak tilted his head. That is possible, but it would take time. Time we may not have. Give us 3 days, Jayan said. Just 3 days to try. The alien was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. 3 days, but no more. The void will reach Mars by then. For the next 3 days, Earth was busy with activity. Some people left the cities afraid of what was coming. Others joined the defense forces. Scientists worked day and night to understand the Eorin technology. Dr. Jae-in led the science team. She had found something interesting in the way the Eorin technology connected to the brain. Look at this, she told Daeho, showing him a screen full of brain patterns. The Eorin neural link was made for their brains, not ours. When they use it, it creates perfect ordered patterns. But when we tested it on human volunteers, it created these wild, chaotic patterns. Is that bad? Daeho asked. Jae-in smiled. No, it's good. The Void Collective thinks in one way altogether. The Eorin think in a different but still orderly way. But humans? We think in thousands of different ways. And that chaos might be just what we need to fight the Void. On the 3rd day, the Void Collective reached Mars. The human colony there fought bravely, but they were no match for the strange dark energy that seemed to eat everything it touched. In the Earth Defense Headquarters, they watched as Mars went dark. They'll reach Earth in less than a week, General Taewon said grimly. Elder Seok's blue form appeared again. The time for tests is over. We must act now. Dr. Jae-in stepped forward. We're ready. We've modified your neural link to work with human brains. It will awaken the abilities you told us about, but it will do it in a human way. What do you mean, a human way? The Eorin asked. You'll see, Jae-in replied. We need 500 volunteers to start. The process might be dangerous, but if it works, we can roll it out to more people quickly. Captain Daeho was the first to step forward. I volunteer, he said. In a secret facility deep under the Himalaya mountains, the 500 volunteers prepared for the procedure. They came from all over Earth. Soldiers, scientists, teachers, workers. All willing to risk their lives to save humanity. Daeho lay on a bed with strange equipment attached to his head. Dr. Jae-in checked everything one last time. Are you ready? She asked. Daeho nodded. Do it. Jae-in pressed a button and the machine hummed to life. Daeho felt a strange feeling wash over him. It was like his mind was getting bigger, moving outside his body. Suddenly, he could feel the other volunteers. Not their thoughts exactly, but their feelings, their presence. And then something unexpected happened. The human mind started to connect in new ways, creating patterns that no one had predicted. Not perfect like the Eorin patterns, but wild and creative and constantly changing. Elder Seok watched the process with growing surprise. This is not what we expected, he said to the other Eorin. Their minds are making new paths. They're changing the design even as it turns on. When the procedure was done, the volunteers were different. They could see and feel things they couldn't before. They understood things about the universe that most humans never would. And they could see how the Void Collective worked, how it broke the threads that held reality together. We know how to fight them now, Daeho announced, his eyes shining, with new knowledge. And we know why the Eorin made us. Colonel Minho, who had never trusted the aliens, asked, What do you mean? The Eorin didn't just make us to fight the Void, Daeho explained. They made us as the next step in their own lives. They stopped changing millions of years ago, perfect but stuck. We are their way of continuing to grow past their limits. Elder, Seok bowed his head. It's true. We are dying as a people even though we live very long lives. You are not just our children. You are our future. As the Earth prepared for the final battle with the Void Collective, a new understanding grew between humans and their ancient creators. They were family, separated by millions of years, but now reunited by a common enemy. And together, they might just have a chance to save the galaxy. 3 months had passed since the Void Collective first attacked the solar system. Humans had lost their bases on the outer planets. The dark enemy had taken Jupiter and Saturn, but Mars still stood. The red planet had become the front line in humanity's fight for survival. Dr. Jae-in Lee looked at the screen showing the 500 volunteers. Captain Dae-ho Kim was one of them. They all wore special headsets that connected their minds to each other. This was the third version of the neural link, much better than the one the EO-RIN had first offered. "How do you feel today, Captain?" Jae-in asked through the speaker. Dae-ho smiled. "Different. Stronger. I can feel the others more clearly now." The secret base under the Himalaya mountains had become the center of Earth's defense plans. Here, human scientists worked with EO-RIN advisors to improve the neural technology. But they did it in their own way, not just copying what the aliens gave them. "The process is starting," Jae-in announced as she watched Dae-ho's brain patterns on her screen. "Your brain paths are changing according to the pattern we took from the EO-RIN data." Dae-ho closed his eyes. He felt a strange feeling washing over him, like his mind was growing beyond his body. He could sense the other volunteers, not through words, but through feelings. Happiness, fear, hope, determination. And then something unexpected happened. The human neural network began creating patterns that even the EO-RIN had not predicted. These patterns were chaotic but somehow also worked together, like wild music that still follows some hidden rules. The patterns spread outward, connecting the volunteers in new ways. Elder Seok watched with growing surprise. "They're going beyond the original design," he said quietly to the other EO-RIN. "Their minds are making new paths, changing the blueprint, even as it turns on." When the procedure was complete, the volunteers had changed. They were still human, but now they could connect to each other and to something deeper, the basic rules of the universe itself. They could see the tiny threads that held reality together, and how the void broke those threads. "We know how to fight them now," Dae-ho said, his eyes showing his new understanding. "And we know the real reason why the EO-RIN created us." Colonel Min-ho, who had remained doubtful of the aliens all along, asked, "What do you mean?" "The EO-RIN didn't just create us to fight the void," Dae-ho explained. "They created us as the next step in their own journey. They reached a point, millions of years ago, where they stopped changing, perfect but frozen. We are their attempt to keep growing beyond their limits." Elder Seok lowered his head in agreement. "We are dying as a species, even though each of us lives for thousands of years. You are not just our children, you are our future." Over the next few weeks, thousands more people went through the awakening process. Not just soldiers, but people, from all walks of life: teachers, farmers, artists, engineers. Each brought their own way of thinking to the growing human network. "The void is attacking Mars again," reported General Tae-won from the war room. "Our defenses are holding, but they're learning, adapting to our weapons." Dae-ho nodded. They would. The void is a hive mind. It thinks as one. That's its strength, but also its weakness. "How is being united a weakness?" asked Ambassador Subin. "Because it can only think in one way," Jae-in answered. "It can't imagine different approaches. Humans, though, we think in millions of different ways, and that chaos confuses the void." The next test came when a small part of the void broke through Mars' defenses and headed toward Earth. A ship carrying Dae-ho and 50 other awakened humans intercepted it near the moon. "Remember the plan," Dae-ho told the others. "Don't fight it directly. That's what it expects. Instead, confuse it. Think in ways it can't understand." The 50 humans focused their minds together, but not in the perfect, orderly way the EO-RIN would have. Instead, they let their thoughts flow in all directions, some thinking of music, others of math problems, others of childhood memories or dreams of the future. When this chaotic mental energy hit the void fragment, it seemed to shudder. Dark tendrils that had been reaching for the ship pulled back. "It's working," shouted Jisoo, who was monitoring the void's reactions. "It can't process all the different patterns we're sending." The humans pushed harder, flooding the void with contradictory thoughts and emotions. Love and anger, joy and sadness, complex equations and simple nursery rhymes. A storm of human consciousness that the single-minded void couldn't handle. With a final pulse of mental energy, The humans broke the void fragment apart. It dissolved into nothing, leaving only empty space where it had been. When they returned to Earth, Elder Seok was waiting for them. The ancient alien's eyes showed a mix of pride and awe. "You have done what we could not," Elder Seok said. "The Eorin tried to fight the void with order and precision, but you fought it with chaos and creativity." "That's the human way," Daiho replied with a smile. But the victory was small compared to what they still faced. The main body of the Void Collective was moving toward Earth, consuming everything in its path. "We need more people in the network," Jayan said during the next strategy meeting. "Not hundreds or thousands, but millions." "Is that safe?" General Taewan asked. "The full procedure takes weeks of training. We've developed a simpler version," Jayan explained. "It won't give people the full abilities, but it will let them join their consciousness to the network for short periods, like turning on a light instead of rewiring the whole house." The plan was approved. All across Earth, people lined up to receive the simplified awakening. They would not become like Daiho and the other fully awakened humans, but they could add their minds to the defense of Earth when the time came. Meanwhile, the Eorin shared more of their knowledge with their human children. They taught them about the history of the galaxy, about the other races they had seeded on distant worlds, about the rise and fall of ancient civilizations. "Why did you choose Earth for us?" Daiho asked Elder Seok one night as they looked at the stars from the mountain base. "Your world was perfect," the alien replied. "Not too harsh, not too gentle. It would make you strong but not cruel. And it was beautiful. We wanted our children to know beauty." Daiho thought about this. "When you first made us, did you know what we would become?" Elder Seok's blue glow dimmed slightly. "No, we hoped, but we did not know. That was the point, to create something that could grow beyond our imagination." As they prepared for the final battle, Daiho realized that humans were not just fighting for their own survival. They were fighting for the legacy of the Eorin, for the future of all life in the galaxy. And perhaps most importantly, they were fighting to prove that the Eorin had been right to create them, that humanity, with all its flaws and strengths, was worth the 5 million-year experiment that had brought them to this moment. The awakening of humanity was not just about gaining new powers. It was about understanding their place in the vast story of the galaxy, not as latecomers, but as the chosen heirs of its oldest civilization. The final battle would happen in space between Earth and Venus. The main body of the Void Collective had positioned itself there, ready to consume both planets. The dark mass looked like a storm cloud made of ink, with tendrils reaching out in all directions. A fleet of human ships formed a protective line in front of Earth. The ships had been upgraded with Eorin technology, but they were still piloted by humans who brought their own ideas and quick thinking to the fight. Captain Daiho Kim stood on the bridge of the flagship Nova Dawn. Around him, 500 fully awakened humans sat in special chairs that helped them focus their minds together. "All ships report ready," said Commander Jisoo Park from her station. "The void is not moving yet, but its energy readings are increasing." Daiho nodded. "It's gathering strength, getting ready to strike." He turned to address the awakened humans on his ship. "Remember your training. Don't try to think alike. Let your minds be different. That's our strength." On Earth, millions of people with the simpler version of the awakening waited for the signal to join their minds to the network. They sat in homes, schools, hospitals, and special centers built for this purpose. "The void is starting to move," Jisoo reported. A cold feeling spread through the ship as everyone watched the dark mass begin to flow toward them. "Now!" ordered Daiho. The 500 awakened humans closed their eyes and focused their minds. They didn't try to think the same thoughts. Instead, each followed their own mental path, creating a complex web of consciousness that reached out toward the void. The first contact between human minds and the void was like touching an electric fence. Many of the awakened humans gasped or cried out as they felt the alien presence. "Cold, hungry, and very old. They're adapting to our attack," warned Jisoo, who monitored the energy readings. "The void is trying to consume our signal and use It against us. This was the moment humans had been preparing for. Unlike the Eorin, whose thought patterns followed perfect logical steps, human minds jumped between ideas in unpredictable ways. This created defense strategies that the Void couldn't counter easily. Elder Seok and the remaining Eorin joined their ancient minds to the human network. Their old wisdom gave structure to humanity's creative chaos. Together, they pushed deeper into the Void's collective mind. Now, commanded Daeho, the signal was sent to Earth. In homes and gathering places all across the planet, millions of humans who had received the simpler awakening joined their consciousness to the effort. These weren't trained warriors, but ordinary people, farmers, teachers, artists, children, each adding their unique view to the increasingly complex attack pattern. The Void entity shuddered as conflicting information flooded its system. Human emotions, love, hope, anger, fear, were alien concepts to both the Eorin and the Void. These created cascading failures throughout the dark mass. On the flagship's screen, they could see the Void beginning to break apart. Holes appeared in the inky darkness as sections failed to maintain their connection to the main body. "Keep pushing," Daeho encouraged the others. "It's working." But the Void fought back. A dark tendril shot out and wrapped around one of the human ships, crushing it. Other tendrils reached toward Earth, trying to touch the planet directly. "We need more," Jisoo said, her voice strained. "It's still too strong." Elder Seok stepped forward, his blue glow brighter than Daeho had ever seen it. "We must give everything," the ancient alien said. "The first ones will join fully with the next ones." The remaining Eorin gathered in a circle. They began to glow so brightly that the humans had to shield their eyes. Then, in a flash of blue light, the Eorin seemed to transform into pure energy. This energy flowed into the human network, strengthening it beyond anything they had felt before. With this final boost of power, the human mental attack drove deep into the heart of the Void. The dark mass convulsed violently as millions of contradictory thoughts and feelings tore through its unified consciousness. "One final push," Daeho called out. "Everyone together but thinking differently." The millions of minds connected through the network each sent their strongest thought. Some sent love, others courage, others complex math problems or beautiful music or simple children's games. The Void entity had no defense against such a chaotic yet powerful attack. With a silent explosion that everyone felt rather than heard, the Void began to collapse. Its dark tendrils withdrew from the human ships, curling back toward the main mass. Then, like ice melting in the sun, the Void began to dissolve. "We're getting reports from all over the galaxy," Jisoo said, her voice filled with wonder. "Everywhere the Void had spread, it's retreating. The psychic wave we created is driving it back." As the last pieces of the Void disappeared from the solar system, a strange blue light filled the bridge of the Nova Dawn. It took the shape of Elder Seok, but he was different now, more like a memory than a physical being. "You have exceeded everything we hoped for when we seeded your world," the Eorin's voice echoed in their minds. "The galaxy will never be the same." "No," agreed Daeho. "It will be better. Not just for humans or Eorin, but for all thinking life." In the days that followed, the remaining Eorin energy separated from the human network. It gathered again into physical forms, though fewer than before. Many of the ancient race had given their entire being to help defeat the Void. A great meeting was held in the United Earth Defense Headquarters in Seoul. Humans and Eorin stood together, no longer as creators and created, but as family reunited after millions of years apart. "We invite you to come to our homeworld," Elder Seok said to the human leaders, "to claim your place as the children of the galaxy's oldest civilization." General Taewan, who had once distrusted the aliens completely, smiled for the first time in months. "We accept your invitation, but not as children returning home. Earth remains our home, and we have our own path to follow among the stars." Elder Seok nodded with pride. "As it should be. Children must eventually grow beyond their parents. We may be the first ones, but you are the next ones." Captain Daeho looked out at the night sky. With the awakening, he could now see more stars than ever before. And he knew that out there other children of the Aorin might be waiting to meet their human cousins. "What will you do now?" he asked Elder Siak. "We will rebuild," the ancient being replied. "With your help, perhaps our race can find a new path forward, and together we will watch over the galaxy, as family should." And so began humanity's true rise into the galactic community. They carried the legacy of their ancient creators while making their own unique path through the stars. The sons had not only met their fathers, they had saved them, and in doing so, had saved themselves, and countless other worlds. The long experiment of the Eorin had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. Humanity had come home to the stars, and the stars would never be the same again.